Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining our podcast episode today. I am your host, Angela Alberti. Super excited about today's episode. I will be interviewing Patricia Karam with Mission Recruit. She's definitely on a mission to change some of the fundamentals that we've aligned with staffing and recruiting. And I can't wait to dive into it a little bit more with her. If you are somebody that's within the human capital space, talent, even at the executive level, because every single executive right now is thinking of the war on talent, then this episode is definitely for you. Until then, let me go ahead and give a quick reminder to everyone. If you guys don't mind hopping into your app store and giving us a quick rating, a thumbs up, a review, those stars, that helps us get into more listeners like yourself. And we are now very proud to say that we are in over 30 countries. So if you are listening in from another country, we really welcome you guys. But let's get to it. Patricia, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, first of all, thank you so much for having me on your podcast. I'm so excited to be here. So I am from Atlanta, Georgia. I'm first generation American. My parents are from the Philippines. And I went to university in a small all-women's private school in Gainesville called Brunel University. And back in the early 2000s, when I graduated, I wanted to be in pharmaceutical sales. And I definitely did not go that route. I landed a great internship with a great IT company into it. And from there, it was just a seamless transition to stay into IT. So for a few years, I focused on software sales, and I realized I wanted to be more hands-on in person. And I started my IT staffing and recruiting career at the largest IT staffing firm in the nation. And from there, I had experience with the largest staffing firm globally to a small mom and pop shop. And I realized after my third child, I turned in my notice and started Mission Recruit, and I haven't looked back.
Oh, that is so awesome. I think there's a lot of similarities that relate to both you and I. We're both first generation. And like with many people within this industry, I think staffing and recruiting is an industry that somehow finds you. And if you do very well at it and you tie the human element to what we do, which is helping the world of work get to work every single day, then you will find success. So kudos to you and everything that you guys have built at Mission Recruit. Tell us a little bit about the company. And we'll get into what that experience has been like for you from an entrepreneurial perspective. But what is Mission Recruit really about? What is the mission at the core?
And I get this asked often, and I honestly love my company name, Mission Recruit, because we are on a mission. We have three primary pillars. The first being, our bread and butter, best in class recruiting, and we focus on mid-sized to Fortune 500 companies in IT, marketing, sales, and executive leadership positions. Our second pillar is our focus on giving back to nonprofits, so our philanthropy piece. And our third is our focus to keep the human in HR through human design, which I'm so excited about relaunching.
Oh, that is very cool. We're going to get all into the elements of what human design is. I think for me, I'm really excited that we have a chance to speak on it. But before we go into human design, talk to me about what it's like, what your experience, especially in staffing and recruiting, which unfortunately, like so many other industries out there, is very masculine driven at the executive owner level. So what has that experience been like for you as a first generation American and as a female to launch and establish your own business within this unique industry that we're a part of?
I love this question. And I think I just so love and enjoy challenges. And I think with the landscape we have today, with the focus on diversity and inclusion, it's been so helpful to obtain my women-owned certification as well as my minority-owned certification. So that's really helped me get into especially Fortune 500 companies where they have this diverse spend. So that's been so instrumental. And I love being different from the standard, no offense, like just standard staffing, big box companies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool. I think you're right. Getting that certification, it probably comes with its own challenges. So I know that there's a lot of, I guess, underwriting, you could call it, to go through the certification process as a diversity owned company, but what would be that one piece of advice that you would give to that female listener that's out there looking to establish her own company, maybe even in the same space? If you could give
Yeah,
her some advice, what would that be?
I would say do it.
Oh,
I would
love it.
say don't wait and have all the reasons, everything you need to prepare to do it. Just do it. Start it on the side, and whenever you are financially stable, establish it. Then quit your job, then do it full time. Go 110% once you're able to, and get those certifications. Get that woman-owned certification and any other diverse certification you can get to separate yourself from the rest. And I think it's always important to have a differentiator.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about your differentiator, because this
Yeah.
for me is the goosebump factor when it comes
Yeah.
to Mission Recruit, and what you guys do. There's definitely kind of this philanthropic approach that y'all take
Mhm.
to the placements that you make. Can you expand a little bit more on what you guys do from that regards?
Yeah, so our motto is placements that give back, and it's been our motto from day one. So we have a focus on giving back. It's so important to me. So for every placement we make, we donate $100 to both the domestic violence organization as well as the sex trafficking organization. The ones we support are Partnership Against Domestic Violence as well as Frontline Response. And in addition to that, we are launching a new program called Profit for Nonprofits, where any nonprofit, any certified nonprofit can come to us and refer us a new client that's not already an existing client of ours. And any placement we make for the life of the contract, we'll give 10% to that nonprofit.
That's
So
so
we're so
incredible.
excited to launch that.
Yeah. Well, we both come from big cities. You're in Atlanta. I'm here in Houston. I think that we see, cases and just sex trafficking running rampant. And not to go off guard on what this podcast is about, but it's incredible that you guys found the foundation of what you do, and you're doing the right thing, but you're also differentiating your company into what it's all about, and what's going to be the difference between you and that big box company that oftentimes, particularly in the IT space, y'all have to compete against. So fantastic work. It's really inspiring to see that. Now, I love this question as being a first generation American as well. But what were influences of your first generational background that you feel has led you to where you are right now as a business owner? Do you think back and look and go, oh my God, I totally got that from my mom and dad. I probably would never have learned that if I was a multi-generational American.
Oh gosh, 100%. I love this question. And, it does go deep from my childhood. My parents moved here from the Philippines with an American dream, and that they lived. So I had the opportunity to watch them, my dad as an entrepreneur and my mom as a global business executive. I saw her climb the ladder of success, and to see them hit milestones, hit goals, and lead by example was so instrumental in me and in having, living my dream. And I think it's so ingrained in society to be safe, but nothing extraordinary happens when you're playing safe. So, I mean, look at Richard Branson. He went into space, a couple weekends ago?
Yeah.
That wasn't by playing safe. He actually created a company to live his dream, to go into space. And so I think he's a great reminder that we can live our dreams and be limitless. So I so appreciate my parents. And another thing that my dad always did when he tucked me into bed is remind me that I could do and be anything I wanted to in life. So I so appreciate that.
That's what my mom would do too. I think that it's pretty cool because you have first generation Americans that have parents that totally did not play it safe, that sacrificed everything to come here and build a life for their kids. So it's definitely a factor that I can relate to 100%. Okay, so let's switch the dialogue a little bit here, and let's go into staffing and recruiting. Do you have any trends within the staffing and talent acquisition space that really excite you and that you think is going to transform the way that you and your team find and equip your clients with that right talent?
Yes. And it's keeping the human in HR. And I think that, hiring is a part of HR. And so many people forget that HR stands for human resources. So remembering that people are human at home and at work and have motivations, and they have things that demotivate them. And it's about employers recognizing this and understanding their employees. And I feel like that the primary indicator that I've seen, because I've had the opportunity to see successful environments and unsuccessful environments, the key is tenure. How does that company's tenure look? And it's the companies with a great tenure who have a great focus on culture and a focus on the employees and understanding what's important to them at home and at work.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So let's go back to one of the pillars of Mission Recruit. You mentioned it, the third pillar, the element of human design. I'd love to tap into that a little bit more, and kind of create it at the fundamental level for our listeners. If you could define in its most simplest form what the element of human design is, and also maybe give a little bit of a shout out to what it's done in your own search practices. Let's break it down for the listeners out there. What is human design?
Yeah, human design is essentially a personality assessment. It takes the Eastern and Western principles, practices, science, and comes up with your personality assessment. And there are 5 types. I'll go into a short detail. It's generators, manifesting generators, projectors, and reflectors. And you're a generator, I'm a projector. And it resonated with me so much because my whole entire career and my whole life, I thought I was shy. I thought I was, timid, but in reality, I was a projector and I was just waiting for that invitation, waiting for somebody to ask me my perspective. So it just resonates with me so much because it teaches you indicators when you're off track and when you're on track, personally and professionally. And that's why I'm so excited to be introducing it to corporate America. And I've been very intentional with partnering with the right human design expert. Her name is Kaja Kajarkazan, and she actually has hands-on experience implementing this in a corporate environment.
That is so awesome. And a really big shout out to you and giving me my own personalized human design report. As I told you before we started recording, I was going through it this morning as I was having my first cup of coffee, decaf, because I'm 5 months pregnant and I just can't do caffeinated right now, right?
So excited for you.
Thank you. But it was really a moment of self-reflection. I was going through that and I was like, oh my gosh, this makes so much sense. I love to be able to inspire the team. As you mentioned, I'm a generator, and just really having this sort of tool to you and for your team to implement during the interview process and finding that right candidate. As we all know, there is a war for talent happening right now. And everything that we feel like is going to be so pivotal with that millennials and Gen Zers is so much around the basis of culture. This is such an amazing arsenal to have in y'all's tool belt to utilize these types of reports and really get down to a granular level as to whether or not and what their strengths are and whether or not they may be a fit for the company. So some pretty amazing work that you guys are doing. And then that's going into my next question, the future of work. You've mentioned human design and implementing some sort of form of human design into what you guys do. But really, what does the future of work look like for you?
Yeah, so the future of work, I think that technology is a key indicator, but more than just technology, it's about how people can start working together, if they're at the office or at home. And I've actually seen this, companies really doing such successful things with projects all remotely. And it's just such an ever-changing landscape. And it's all about companies embracing employees for their authenticity, for their differences, honoring when they need mental health breaks. So the companies that can see this are the most successful, in my opinion.
Oh, that's awesome. So just to summarize then, to you, the future of work is the basis of it, and at its core is technology. And that's what is aligning the capacities to be able to run at a global and completely remote scale. And I love that you mentioned this because I don't think it gets enough credit when we're asked. You mean anyone in this space hears a lot about the future of work and what the future of work is, and future of work strategists, me included. But mental health and really what that's going to do to align. I think we are in a post-pandemic world, and it's why we're looking at the Great Resignation right now. So some really fantastic stuff. And just as you mentioned earlier, the human element behind HR. If you can categorize those 4 pillars into the future of work, you're going to be set up for success.
Absolutely.
Wonderful stuff. Okay. So what do you think are some strategies, right? Let's go back to maintaining the human in HR. How
Mhm.
do you realize that? What are some ways that an HR department looking to perhaps re-strategize their efforts to either curate a talent pool, to attract the next talent pool? How can they really implement the human back into HR?
It all starts with the leadership and their core values. It all
Yeah.
starts with hiring. Leadership has to know what kind of culture they want, what kind of environment they want. Because if they don't and they just hire this person, that person, it's going to be a hodgepodge and it's going to be, it's not going to be a cohesive environment. The
Right.
best clients that I have seen with great attrition are the ones who have a focus on hiring right initially, making sure that they are a good fit for their environment, making sure that they are collaborative, that they can speak in up and down and around the organization. So those to me are the key indicators of a successful culture and environment. It all starts with leadership and it all starts with the right hire.
And that right identification as to what's important and what are the
Mhm.
priorities behind this culture. Okay.
Exactly.
What about in terms of the benefits and how you think that that would attract companies, or maybe restructuring the benefits plan? Any sort of advice that you can give on the human element in terms of how it can be reflected in a company's benefits plan?
Yeah, that is such a good question. And I love seeing companies, big ones, that think outside of the box, that are offering unlimited PTO or offering paternity leave, or what was it, Bumble announced that they were having a mental health break. So all the employees got off. I think it's these companies that think outside the box and hear their employees and let their employees know that they're not just a number, that they actually make a difference for them and impact them. So I think I think it's always ever changing, just based on the landscape
Hmm.
and what is most important to their employees.
Right. Yeah. Mental health being at the core of it, like we speak on it again post pandemic. I think that's going to be even more important for these future generations that are going into the workforce.
And
So,
you're right. And even with being a mom,
yeah.
that's something that so many of us brush under the rug is postpartum depression is a real thing. And how are
Hmm.
companies helping moms with this? New moms that aren't getting any sleep.
Hmm. Hmm.
So
100%, or even perhaps creating a benefit structure that's conducive to that sort of approach, understanding that and having a backup plan, knowing that your team has the eligibility to take the paternity leave, recognize postpartum, recognize mental
mhm.
health, recognize the pandemic, and having a workforce that can flexibly scale up and down when you have members of staff that need to take that break, I think is super critical into that as well. And this is all leading to my next question: the war on retention, talent attraction, talent curation, the great resignation. I think I was looking at numbers this morning. 4 million people resignated in April, 3.8 million people resignated in May. So they're now leaving their jobs. It's a very candidate driven market, but there's still
Mhm.
nearly 8 million people unemployed. What are your thoughts on talent attraction and then talent retention?
Yeah. And I love this question because it all goes back to my core belief is keeping the human in HR and
Right.
realizing what motivates people at home and at work, because I'm pretty sure it's the same motivators.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just seeing them as humans and not as employees, which is huge. And something so simple that a lot of leaders and a lot of companies forget.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%. So let's go into your content diet. What are some of the things that you read on a daily basis that help you keep up to date, whether in your own unique technology sector or, the human resources sector? What are some things that you kind of maintain in your content diet?
It's a mixture of everything. It's a mixture of my daily experiences working with clients, with candidates, skimming LinkedIn, Instagram, talking to people like you, even learning from my kids. I feel like
Yeah.
I learn from everything in life. It's not about just reading specific articles or waiting for that post to come about. It's just a little bit of everything. And that's what I love
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Actually, I was interviewing somebody the other day that talked about how crucial it is for us to reflect on those interactive moments that we have every single day and what we can do to apply to it. So, some
Exactly.
very, very good stuff out there. So, Patricia, we're leaning towards the end of our interview today. Is there any closing remarks that you would like to give to our audience? And also, how can we find you?
Oh, yeah. Closing remarks is just do it. Whatever you're passionate about, whatever interests you, just do it and live your life, live your best life, because we're all here for this human experience. And yes, we want to feel success and it's excitement, and we can do that by living.
Oh, that's
And you
awesome.
can, yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn, Patricia E. Karam, Karam, or on our website at www.missionrecruit.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time today and for the opportunity to interview. You guys are doing some fantastic stuff at Mission
Ah,
Recruit. Everything that you do to give back to the community, to put the human back into HR, and to really perhaps have some scientific backing behind it with the element of human design is pretty remarkable. If you guys haven't had a chance to look into human design, just Google it. It's a remarkable way to find it, and I am a personally experienced to that because I had a chance to analyze the human design report this morning. So, very great stuff. Thank you once again. And thank you for our listeners for tuning into today's episode. We will catch you guys on the next Ivy podcast episode.